Imagine stepping across the threshold of an American home in 1910. Outside, a wooden porch is surrounded by turned columns and wrought iron railings, where time seemed to pass more slowly. As soon as the door opens, the scent of beeswax and polished wood fills the air. The wide plank floors creak underfoot, and the ticking of the wall-mounted pendulum clock dominates the silence. We are in the heart of a typical middle-class American home of the early 20th century. A space beginning to embrace progress, yet still carrying the weight of Victorian traditions. The living room was the central hub of the home, the place where guests were received and the best of the household was displayed. The walls were adorned with fluoro-patterned wallpaper, typically in olive green, gold, or burgundy tones, giving a sophisticated air. A Persian rug covered the floor, and on it a velvet-upholstered sofa and sturdy armchairs surrounded a small coffee table holding magazines and a vase of dried flowers. In the fireplace, the fire crackled, flanked by a pair of iron fire tools and a set of family portraits in oval frames. It was common to find a phonograph on the console, the ultimate symbol of domestic modernity, playing classical or ragtime records. Light came from a gas chandelier, often adapted to electricity. As this was a decade of transition, electric lighting was still a novelty and a status symbol. Moving into the dining room, the grandeur continued. A solid wood table, surrounded by high-backed chairs, occupied the center of the room. On the sideboard, fine porcelain and silverware, often inherited, were displayed, draped with a handmade lace tablecloth. Meal rituals were formal, with dinners served in large dishes, sometimes with the assistance of household servants, as domestic help was still common, especially among wealthier urban families. In the corner, a gramophone played softly, or a child practiced on a vertical piano, another symbol of refinement. The kitchen, however, displayed the contrast between tradition and modernity. The wood-burning stove still reigned supreme, though some wealthier households had already installed gas models. Cast iron pots, copper kettles, and ceramic containers lined the shelves. The refrigerator was, in fact, an icebox, a wooden box with a zinc lining, where blocks of ice delivered by icemen kept food fresh. The coal-tiled floor reflected the yellowish light streaming through the window. The smell of freshly baked bread and brewed coffee filled the room, reminding that, though times were changing, the kitchen remained the heart of the home. Upstairs, the bedrooms held the family's private life. The master bedroom featured an iron bed with a crocheted bedspread and tall pillows. On the dresser, a silver brush and an oval mirror reflected the soft glow of a kerosene lamp. Clothing was stored in chests and wooden wardrobes. Closets were not yet common. In many homes, heating came from a small radiator connected to a central boiler, an innovation beginning to spread in cities. In the children's room, wooden toys, porcelain dolls, and illustrated books were scattered on the floor. A teddy bear, a recent invention inspired by President Theodore Roosevelt, might have rested beside the bed. The bathroom, though simple, was one of the home's modern prides. Houses built before 1900 rarely had indoor plumbing, but by 1910, this was rapidly changing. A white porcelain wash basin, a clawfoot bathtub, and a flush toilet were signs of progress. The oval mirror and glass soap dish completed the scene, while the sound of running water almost symbolized the new century, the century of convenience. In the basements and attics, the silent history of the house accumulated. Suitcases, tools, old toys, and magazines were stored like forgotten treasures. There, the smell of aged wood and dust mingled with that of coal and lamp oil. It was the past resting beneath the same roof as the future. In 1910, the American home represented a microcosm of the nation itself, a space between two worlds, the old and the modern. The telegraph, the telephone, and electricity were beginning to transform daily life. Women were still seen as the guardians of the household, but magazines and catalogs such as Sears already featured advertisements for vacuum cleaners, sewing machines, and other appliances, promising to free them from heavy labor. It was the beginning of the consumer culture and convenience that would define the 20th century. As we leave this house, closing the door behind us, there is the sensation of having crossed a temporal threshold. Every room, every object, tells a story about what Americans valued: comfort, progress, and family. In 1910, the home was not merely a shelter, It was a mirror of the American dream, reflecting both the achievements and the contradictions of an era that believed, more than ever, in the power of modernity.